There you go. All right. So before we move on, took care of that. Oh, there was a hold on. There's an AIGA thing. Let me pull this up here real quick. Here it is. So I'll post that as an announcement in Canvas, but it looks like he is participating in the International Design Day. This year's theme is outlandish optimism. Um, so this is an event that's coming up or a theme. I don't know much about this stuff. April 27th, it looks like. So let's see here. Whoops. So, so I'll post this and you can take a look at it and see if it's something that you're interested in. Let's see here. Was there something else? No, no, no. I don't see anything else in here. So, all right. Let me double check because I could have sworn I saw some kind of AIGA thing come through. Give me a second. Special invitation. Ah, yep, there it is right there. I knew it. It just popped up. Hold on. Oh, because it's in the wrong email. It's in this email. Here it is. This is what I was looking for. So AIGA San Diego, Tijuana, they're doing a Intrepido series, a new one with this person, Richard Dane, Dane and Blackburn and NASA fame. So on April 24th from 6 to 8, it's only $5 a student. This person will be speaking on, it looks like, their findings and their careers. So I'll also post that into the announcement. So if it's something that you're interested in, yeah, you got it. So it's always kind of neat to go to those events. Also, another thing, remember I told you from the very beginning, it's, if you're able to pull it off financially and also time-wise, it's great to network at these events as a young designer. You hopefully will meet industry people that you can get to know, learn from, all that good stuff. So those things are really important in your career. All right, let's see here. Move on to our lecture. Okay, so we got a lot to cover in our lecture today because I actually combined two lectures because of our assignment. So in today's lecture, we're going to be going over an introduction to branding and logo design, which might be a little redundant for some of you if you're taking these kind of classes. Is anybody taking any type of like branding class right now? Yeah, Sam, I saw you. Yeah. Well, if you've taken any class in the past that covers this particular topic, especially in this program, or if you're taking one right now, then this is just good practice, just to do it again. So if this is a career that you're moving forward with, I'm doing branding now, and I'm actually after the lecture, I'm going to walk you through two current projects that I'm working on that I'm developing brands around, and I'm going to share my process about that. So I know that that can be helpful to most of you, and you've expressed that that's always been helpful to kind of walk through process and take questions and kind of go through that stuff. So that's what I'm going to do after the lecture. The assignment I did update. So before the spring break, I had put the assignment was going to be more like UX stuff, but I changed it to make it logo design because it's more relevant to this lecture. So we can talk about branding, we can talk about logo design, and go right into the assignment so it's fresh and applicable. All right. This is a common statement I use all the time with all kinds of people, whether they're just, I'm explaining what I do, or it's a new client, or maybe it's just somebody that I'm working with that's not used to branding. But a brand is more than a logo. And I'm going to pause there and I'm going to ask Sam, I'm going to call you out since you said you are currently taking a class. What does that mean?
The logo, that a brand is more than a logo.
Yeah, what does that mean to you?
It's like its identity, you know, how people like it's like recognition, how people recognize the company.
Hmm. Yep, true. Anybody else want to expand on that? Come on.
Yeah, I got it.
Great.
It's if your brand was a person, what would their personality be like? What would it be like to talk to them?
Yep. Because your glasses, Carl, your glasses isn't Carl. So a lot of people that are not familiar with what we do and how we specialize in this, most people immediately think that this is Nike. Like, really? Most people will go, oh, the Nike swoosh is Nike. No, the Nike swoosh is not Nike. Nike is, it's a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's an anthem. Just do it, right? It's a call to action to whether it's being an athlete or just like, your day to day, just do it is such a powerful tagline and also an anthem to just get out there, right? Practice, work hard, dedicate yourself. So Nike is not the swoosh. Nike is more the tagline around just do it. Get out there, commit yourself, stop procrastinating, and go after what your passions are in life. So, really, most people are like Nike, right? Nike's the swoosh, Nike's the running shoes, Nike is an athletic company, but it really transcends and it goes so much more broad than running shoes, sports, basketball, Michael Jordan, Air Jordan. It's so much more than that. And most people are not familiar with what I'm about to show you here. This. So when Nike first started, they sat down and they actually wrote down what they stand for. So what they stood for is our business is about change. We're on offense all the time. Perfect results count, not a perfect process. Break the rules, fight the law. This is as much about battle as about business. Assume nothing, make sure people keep their promises, push yourselves, push others, stretch the possible, live off the land. Your job isn't done until the job is done. Dangers, bureaucracy, personal ambition, energy takers versus energy givers, knowing our weaknesses. Don't get too many things on the platter. It won't be pretty. And finally, if we do the right things, we'll make money damn near automatic. That is my favorite one at the bottom. So if you notice, look at the logo at the top of this thing. Looks a little different than what the logo looks like these days, right? So When Nike was starting off, it was important to them to first establish their values, what they stand for. That's a brand. It's not that primitive swoop at the top that the very first. Can somebody look that up for me? Can somebody look up her name? Look up who is the designer that designed the Nike swoosh, please.
Carolyn Davidson.
What was her name again?
Carolyn Davidson.
Yeah. So that's the very first one that she did. And from what I've heard over time, is she only got paid like $35 or some shit like that. But you know what they did? They gave her stock in the company and they employed her. And she retired. She's been retired, a multimillionaire. So not everybody is going to have that same sort of career path and luck to be able to do, you know, a logo and help develop a brand for a startup, a running company like this that ends up being the largest, most influential brand ever in all of history. But I say this because a brand is more than a logo. If you put your finger over that swoosh right there and you just read these things and you say, this is Nike without looking at the swoosh, those are the things that you have to like consider. You know, Nike is about a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's not about sports. It's not about running shoes. It's definitely not about a swoosh. It's all about like a thinking and a way of doing things. So what we're going to do here is, defining, kind of going through an example of what is a brand. A brand is the unique identity and personality of a business that distinguishes itself from competitors and resonates with this target audience. Brands are perceptions, period. It's not a product. It's a perception. So when we kind of go through some of the attributes of how to think about a brand and what a brand is, usually these are some of the visual flows of it. We kind of develop, right, like Nike did, they develop their values up front, so their brand strategy. Then they got into starting to make some of the visual identity, like the logo, like fonts, like colors, like photography style, like brand elements, design elements, and all these typography and all this stuff. And then that funnels into the touch points out there, right? Social media. And well, back then, you know what they used to do? They used to go to marathons and running events with their car. They fill up their car with the shoes. They park the car and they would try to sell their shoes at like running events and get their name out there like that. So the brand is the focal point. It is like the nucleus, right? It's the DNA of a company. It is the core center point for everything. Everything centers around what the brand is and those values and those attributes and all that strategy that goes into it. And again, most people have no clue about this stuff. They just think that Nike is the running shoe that they just love. And that's why they wear it. But why do they wear it? Well, is it because it's the most amazing, most well-built running shoe out there? Probably not. I mean, Nike, it is not the highest quality running shoe because it's a brand. It makes them feel like they are kind of like representing themselves a certain way. And I call it tribes. We are humans. You can't deny it. From day one, humans have always gravitated to a tribe. And we feel safe in these tribes. Brands are tribes. We have a tendency to associate ourselves with these tribes. So, these brands, as you can see here, there's a lot of different things that constantly are revolving around it. They're almost like satellites, right, around the earth. Emails, proposals, exhibits, packaging, signage, business firms, letters, websites, social media, mobile, video, blah, 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 blah. It's all sort of like circulating, constantly around the brand. So also, when it comes down to it, branding is storytelling, and it's consistent storytelling. I always kind of like talk about this metaphor is how much can anybody just literally just pretend you know this? How much do you think McDonald's spends on advertising each year? Anybody?
300 million.
How much?
300 million.
300 million. That's pretty good guess. Anybody else? No? Well,
Like I was thinking more like $10,000.
you're a little off there, Joshua.
Uh
McDonald's, I would lean more to, I think that was that you, Minnow?
Yeah.
I thought it was you. It sounded like your voice.
Yeah.
I would lean a little more towards Minnow's guess. McDonald's probably spends hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe not hundreds, but I would say it would be probably more in the realm of like 30 million a year on their
what?
advertising budget. And you ask yourself, why? Okay, so why does McDonald's have $20 million a year to speak to you and to convince you to buy their Big Mac and their fries and to drink their Coke, when you could probably go down to downtown San Diego, right? Or over in North Park or South Park and find a little burger joint that probably has the freshest hamburger you've ever had. It's top quality meat. It's a fresh bun. It's fresh lettuce and tomato. It's crafted by somebody back there. And it's probably one of the best burgers you've ever fucking had ever, right? So why does McDonald's spend $20 million a year to convince you to eat their burger? This is what I say. These companies have to spin it because their product is crap. Crap. I mean, isn't it? Isn't McDonald's total crap food?
It is. It's not as good as it was before.
But it's always
Yeah.
been. I remember being a kid, and it definitely was somewhat better back then. I remember the chicken nuggets actually was chicken,
Yeah.
They're just whatever the hell they are. But because branding is storytelling, these big companies have to spend so much money to convince you to buy their stuff, because if it really was that good of a product, why do they have to spend all the money? Rolex? So Rolex was my client for almost 6 years. You know what they said to me one of the first days they onboarded me? They go, "We don't have to advertise ever. We don't. Because people know our brand. They know the quality of our watches. So we really don't have to advertise at all. But we do it, back then for certain reasons. So, but McDonald's has to constantly spend these insane budgets to convince you to go out and buy their crappy burgers and their crappy fries and drink soda that's going to rot your teeth. Minna.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So don't you think they spend that much because they're making that much as well?
They have stockholders that they have to make money for. They have holding companies. that they have to maintain a bottom line, a profitable bottom line. And that bottom line has increased over the decades. And so now they have to sell the billions of burgers across the world. So yes, they do. They have to, they have to put that kind of money out there to keep people consuming their product. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shaver.
If Rolex says something like that, like when you start working with them, like does that make it easy or like what, I guess like what do you, or is it harder? Like what do you do?
That's a damn good question, man. Um, so when they told me that, I think the thing that resonated with me is the authenticity in the belief in their brand and their product, that it is the best of the best. So it kind of like it resonated with me in a way that said, well, if I'm a creative, when I do these, like back then it was like digital ads on YouTube and like different other places, and also like website stuff. I understood that the expectation was that the most important thing is that it better be the highest quality creative and design. That's what matters most, is the highest quality creative and design. It wasn't about trying to sell the watch. It was about representing the brand and the product at the highest level. That makes sense? Yeah. Does that make sense to everybody? So Bose, I would say most people know who this brand is, right? So Bose is in a audio experience company in a way, right? They make headphones, they make speakers, they make a lot of like high quality audio things. But what do they stand for? They stand for core values. Before they speak about headphones, their core values are around innovation, teamwork, and growth. That's what their core values are. So Bose's mission is to create better products and solutions to help people enjoy their passions. The company believes that sound is a powerful force that can transform and transport people. So their passion is sound. I mean, so that passion and that belief is that, right? Sound and Sam, your headphones, whatever you're wearing, is the highest quality out there, and it's going to bring you this experience of whether or not you're listening to me talk for 3 hours or you're listening to your favorite, band or whatever while you're doing your work. That's kind of getting you in the mood while you're doing your design. So the big idea for Bose, sound is power. If we were to flip this and we were to say the big idea for Nike, just do it. It's the same thing. It's like their call to action. It's like, it's what everything is sort of like falling under. Sound is power. So the brand narrative at Bose is they have a passion for doing things that are better. They apply the highest level of scientific inquiry and invention to the discovery of new concepts and the development of new products. We create experiences for our customers that are enlightening, unique, and delightful. We seek to develop an environment that challenges us to pursue excellence and to reach our fullest human potential. That's powerful. It's an anthem. So their tagline, better sound through research. So, even though that's their tagline, their big idea, sound is power, though, is to me more of like the anthem, right? They say the big idea, but it's like the mindset. The sound is power, and so um, it's really the thing that kind of gets your head in the space, and it helps you like kind of, I would say, inspire you on a daily basis. If you're working at Bose. So sample messaging. Remind your ears why they're here. Sound that takes you places. So, just gonna watch. I got a couple of videos of showing sort of the vibe and the energy of Bose. So these are just some examples of things that they put out there. You watch this video here, and you ask yourself, like, what are they really saying with what I'm watching? Marie, Joshua, I'll get to you 1 second. Thank you for raising their hand. Marie, just what do you think they're saying with this little video?
That you can't really like hear anything else outside of the headphones, that they like you can be washing laundry and stuff and you can't hear it, I guess.
Okay, you're very close. Joshua?
That doesn't matter where you are, you can still experience great sound quality and just be
Right.
yourself and express yourself,
Exactly.
getting lost in the music.
So both of you, yes. So it's like they help you get in a mind frame, in a head, like in a headspace, right? A vibe. So what they're saying really quick is it doesn't matter where you're at, like you said, you can tap it real easy and boom, it transforms you. Remember they said transform? It transforms you to a place in a space. So it doesn't matter where you're at, they help kind of get you there. So some of this print material as well, I think really helps sort of represents that and supports it. So turn up the moment, right? The moment. I'm in the moment with these earbuds. Also, what they're saying is, what are they saying about the product? Okay, so if you watch this girl, right? She's got her earbuds and boom, now she's dancing. She's flipping around and blah blah blah. She's doing all this stuff. And then these people, right? You can see that they're very free spirited. He's in a balloon. And she's kind of like, they're both sort of dancing. So what does that say about the product now, too? Anybody? Bree. What does that say about the product?
I don't know, maybe that it's just open to like all walks of life, or like it can like make you become like more creative.
Mm-hmm. Or how about free, right? You see how their body movements and they're kind of like, so what like the photography style is saying is that the product is giving you freedom because there's no cords. And again, I'm just going to pick on you, Sam, a little bit. You can't imagine, your headset that you're wearing, that you would have this kind of freedom that these people have in these ads and these videos, like dancing and moving around with the headset that's like yours. You see what I'm saying? So that's also what they're saying. Like the earbuds, because they're tiny, is giving these people this freedom of space and feeling. So this person right here, I don't know what they're doing. So it's a little hard for me to explain exactly what this individual is doing, but sound just got real. I don't know. I'd have to have a little explanation of what that particular means because it looks like he's in a cornfield. I don't know, doing something, but he feels free, right? It looks like he has somewhat of this freedom with this headset that, is kind of close to his head, and maybe it's a little more like, so they're kind of, again, I think sort of expressing, this freedom of expression. So here's some examples of just some design elements of where the logo is being placed and how it's being utilized. You see here with in a vehicle, the Bose logo on the speakers again kind of carries that line all the way out. It has sort of this motion feel to it, how it's applied to those earbuds, how it's applied to packaging. Like again, the line from the E and the B sort of continue around the packaging. So again, it's sort of expressing this continued like immersiveness in this flow. How it's applied to their website. And also with the color palette too. You know, if you look at these color palettes, they're very, very vibrant. Here, you know, just a cool ad somewhere in some city. Again, showing sort of freedom, bold, vibrant colors, showing how the logo is not only applied to the product, but it's also applied to the bottom of this ad. So if you notice, there's a lot of consistency in the brand elements. There's consistency in how the logo is being applied in a certain way. There's consistency in color. There's consistency in like product photography. There's also consistency in how these people that are these models are expressing themselves. So there's all this consistency that flows throughout everything. So, all right, kind of wrapping this one up. I think you get it, right? So I'm going to pause on that, and I'm going to first ask for some volunteers, but then I'm going to go around the table. What's your favorite brand and why? Anybody?
Does it count if it's my job?
Sure, go ahead, Emily. Doesn't matter. What's your brand? And
so I am the product development specialist for Plum Paper. We make custom stationery, and I love our products. I make our products start to finish. And it's just a clean, welcoming like design and aesthetic that's truly influenced my design skills.
So what is you said Plum Papers?
Plum Paper.
What does Plum Paper stand for? What are their values? What makes them different from maybe some of their competitors?
So we stand for being an individual because every planner that we make is truly fully customized. And we want to help our customers express themselves in how they plan.
Good. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, Dylan, you're right. I've noticed that brands with really expensive products don't advertise much at all or at all. So yeah. Who else somebody else raised their hand, right?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, Joshua, you go for it. What's one of your favorite brands and why?
So one of my favorite brands is Wacom because they
Okay.
make a lot of accessible technology for me for example. I have my Wacom tablet. I was able to draw like digitally with this, and it's made my life a lot easier. As for what they stand for, I'm not entirely sure, but one thing I can say for sure is that they don't just make tablets for like just use for artists like me, but they also do it for businesses as well. They do make a lot of stuff for businesses.
Right. Yeah, they do. So what do you think Wacom stands for? What do you think their values are? What are like their philosophy out there?
I think their philosophy is like something about creativity for all to enjoy and access, and while also just not being about the creative, like in the creative industry, but also just like we're not just about creativity, we're also for business too,
Mhm.
making it accessible and convenient for everyone.
Right. Good. Actually, that's what, I'll just piggyback on what Bree had said about McDonald's. That could be also what McDonald's stands for is convenience, affordability,
I
right?
mentioned that in the chat a little bit a
You
while
did?
ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't able to go through all of them.
It's all right.
But yeah, it's like, when you, I'll get to you in 1 second, Shaver. When you think about like, all right, what is McDonald's core values? Well, they very well could say, well, what we stand for is affordable, convenient food. So that, okay, great. You're checking the boxes for sure on that. It is affordable. It is convenient. So yes, McDonald's, you are checking the boxes on that. But some may say and also argue that McDonald's is yeah. Some may say that yes, they might be affordable. Yes, they might be convenient, but that doesn't mean that's good for you. It's still fast food. And it also, so again, like there's a lot of different things you can say. You can say Nike stands for empowerment, right? It stands for this and that. But then you could go, well, they don't empower workers in America. They don't make their shoes here. They make them overseas. So, you see there's always kind of a duality behind certain things. But we're not necessarily here to pick apart ethics around branding, but it is important, like as all of you kind of start thinking about branding and how you develop your brand, you start thinking about, right? What are the values and what are the ethics behind it? And a lot of you have really come up with some amazing companies that could stand for very positive values and ethics. Shaver.
I was just gonna say, I think especially recently, I really like the branding that Dickies has been doing.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
why?
Um, it seems like their kind of core values are like I think it's especially recently too. It's like they've kind of shifted towards like whatever your passion project is or whatever hobby or whatever like or even if it's just like the line of work that you're in, that might be like, a little bit labor intensive. They make it look kind of like refreshing and fun and that like you can trust their company to do it or at least to wear their clothes while you're doing it. And I
Right.
think also at the same time they're not trying to be someone they're not.
Gotcha. That's a good one. That's a, when you think about kind of authenticity of knowing the value of your product and knowing the value of your brand, yeah, that's a good thing to stand for. And also to kind of get behind. So when you start thinking about um, a pair of work pants, you go, all right, do I think Carhartt or do I think Dickies? You know, and you may just go, well, they both make pretty much the same quality product, but there is a different style, right? Kind of between the two. And you may go, well, I feel like I gravitate more towards Dickies because they have a certain style and they kind of stand for different things. So I'm gonna buy Dickies. I'm gonna wear Dickies versus Carhartt. Cool. How about somebody else? Dylan, yes. Yes.
I
What's one
like
of your
like
favorite brands and why?
I like Lego because they're just into their main thing is play for all.
Yeah.
Um it's like they started doing the more adult focused sets because like adults were like, "Oh, it's too childish. I don't know if I can do it. Like it's meant for kids." And they're like, "No, like it's not a this is only for this age or this is only for this age or this is only for boys or like all that fun stuff." So I
Do
also like
you, yeah, do you
there's
ever go to
a
Legoland?
I have been before. I've been the last time I went was like I don't know, late elementary, early middle school. Um, but I know they've updated a lot of those areas. But the
Right.
one thing I really did like is that the when they first came out with the Friends line, that was like mostly targeted at girls.
Uh-huh.
There was a couple of girls that were like, "Hey," they wrote to them. They're like, "Hey, well, this isn't compatible with all the other Legos. Like,
Mm.
what's the deal with that? You know, because the minifigures for that line." they didn't line up with the studs on all the rest of the Legos.
Yeah,
So they have since changed that, so now it's compatible with everything. And I thought that was really great.
that's interesting. Why don't you unpack that a little bit? Why would they create a different line of Legos when everything is compatible with each other? You wonder why they would come up with that particular line and make it not compatible. That's weird.
I mean, it was during the time when like everything was this is only for boys, this is only for girls, and they wanted to broaden their market to have girls actually, buy their stuff and be able to convince their parents even. So they would mostly be buying those things if they were going to be buying it at all, because Friends was only in the girls' toy section. It
Yeah,
wasn't in the boys' toy section. Like if you go to Toys R Us or like Target or something.
right.
So. Yeah, it was nice that they actually listened and did something about it when like a kid wrote to them and be like, "Hey, I don't like this," you know?
Right.
Didn't
Yeah.
they also make them like pink and yellow and light green and not match the boy Lego colors?
Yes, they did.
I think
They
I
are still
think they
different
caught some
shapes,
slack for
but
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're different shapes still, but it's more compatible with the other ones. So they're like the proportions are the same.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been a big fan of Legos. And Kristen, thank you. Just thank you for being patient. I have also been a big fan of Lego for a long time. I used to have a membership to it, and I used to take my kids when they were little, like all the time. And one of the things that you had mentioned that I kind of enjoyed as an adult too was they used to have like they partnered up with Volvo, and at the park they had a full size like Volvo all made with Legos, which as an adult, right, that was kind of cool. And they would also have like motorcycles and stuff like that that were again kind of full size that, as an adult, you kind of really admire the complexity and how it like, sort of related to you. So I always thought that that was pretty smart. Cool. All right, Kristen, thank you for being patient. How about you?
I like this brand called Girl Swirl. It's like a skate brand that was founded by women in Venice Beach, and they basically like host like skateboarding meetups like throughout like a few times a month all over the world. They have like different chapters around the world. So they make like skating accessible for mainly like women and queer and non-binary skaters. And yeah, like especially for beginners and just like skaters of all levels, they like really focus on making it an accessible and um like nice community to kind of get into skating no matter where you're at. And they also have partnerships with like Carver skateboards and like some really big skate brands. So they like make sustainable skating materials and skateboards too. So I just really like that brand and their meetups. I've been to several of them in San Diego, and it just feels like really inclusive and like they really like their brand, they like really stand for inclusivity, and it feels that way when you are like at one of their meetups too.
Yeah, so you said a couple of things that made me think of like what their values would be: inclusivity, sustainability. What else do you think is probably one of their values?
Um, like probably like supporting um marginalized groups and companies that are like smaller businesses, but that are like that also focus on like sustainability and
Yeah,
making the world a better place.
good. All right, very cool. Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Maya, are you there? I know you're not. Maybe you're not. There you are. Gotcha. Just kidding. Maya, how
Um,
about you?
I like I guess it's a makeup brand that I like find myself buying more when I'm at the stores, Glossier.
Okay.
Um, I just really like them. They have like really cool imagery it's like very, I think it's like fun, and they're really playing onto like the food marketing right now. So they're bringing a lot of like cherry, like they have like a cherry little lip balm thing, and they did like a huge whole like event thing and like marketing around like the fruit. So it was like very visual marketing. And I think their design of their packaging in general is very consistent, but very clean and like cool looking. So I'd say that's a brand I just like gravitate towards when shopping for myself.
Gotcha. Now, you mostly explain sort of aesthetic things. What do you
Yeah.
feel like that from this company that, you like their product?
Yeah.
Is there anything about what you think they stand for and their values that is another sort like an attractor to you?
Just like the diversity of like models that they have in their campaigns is cool.
Sure.
And I feel like their makeup is actually pretty quality and clean, and they have like a diverse range of like shades, and I don't know, things like that. I feel like it's a very consistent brand with quality wise to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for when I like support a brand is consistency and like also keeping up with like the times.
Good. Those are good things. Joish, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How about you? Got a favorite brand and why?
Hmm. That's kind of a difficult question because there's a bunch of brands I kind of like, but I think the brand I kind of like was it's called Viz Media. Basically, they're responsible for like publishing mangas and such.
Publishing
From
what? I'm sorry?
publishing mangas like Japanese comics or something.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think their core values like I I hadn't checked it so much, but they believe their core values like they publishing the Japanese comics for foreigners like me and such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, keep going.
oh, and also uh having a wide variety of stories like from for kids to also like very mature stories.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Do we have one more person? No.
I'll go.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah.
This is gonna sound like I'm brown nosing, but I'm a huge fan of Mazda.
Oh, you're not brown nosing with me. I think Mazda is a great brand. I've had two
Um,
Mazdas in my life, but yeah. Okay. Why?
I think that they stay true to their customer base. They don't
Sure.
try to be the biggest car maker. They strive to be consistent, and I think their customer experience is really important, and safety is extremely important to them.
Mhm.
I moderate a group online that has about 28,000 Mazda owners of a particular
Wow.
car, and just so I have a lot of consumer experience um, throughout the CX-5 brand.
Oh, the six.
And um, just what I hear, the consumer experience and how if there's an issue, how corporate will deal with it if a car is out of warranty, or just seeing these incredible crashes that people will post and walk away without a scratch. And it seems like a really good company that doesn't compromise.
Mhm.
And I think that's admirable.
Yeah. I agree with you. After working with them for a long time and helping out, like they really do. They really walk their walk. And of course they have to make their money and they got to be accountable and things like that. But they do strive as a company from even their origins and their internal executive level to truly like walk their walk. Um, I remember when I first met some of the executives from Japan, and it was just really like impressive and inspiring to be able to meet like, that level of a company that is really, running the company at the highest level. And they just had such humility and respect and appreciation. And that was definitely not normal in our industry, in advertising and just everything that we do. I just thought that that was super admirable and really stood out to me, as a company, even from the highest level of meeting, their team. So yeah, they do. They really kind of walk their walk. Cool. All right. It's a good one. Got to get to know each other a little bit more. All right. So Carl, yeah.
Sorry, I was just waiting for because I don't have a brand, but I wanted to go back to one of the slides that said branding is storytelling. I'm just always confused when people bring up story and storytelling in design because I'm not picking it up. I'm not getting it. So like when I was in school, I was taught, well, I guess I'm in school now. So we're taught in school that a story has like a character, a plot, a story arc, like, all that stuff. So I'm not connecting like where does story fit in with
Sure.
any of this?
Okay, repeat what a story is you just said, a little bit slower. What is
So
the structure of a story?
Right. So you have a character,
Okay, character, plot,
like a climax,
okay.
and an ending, I suppose.
So what if that's always happening with the brand, constantly?
Mm-hmm.
What if the character is you? You're the consumer. So you're the character. Or the brand is the character. So you go to Bose, and these people are the characters, right? And then what is the plot? Well, the plot is all of this. Sound is power. The plot is the narratives. It's all of this brand language that can be, but the plot also can be the campaign, Carl, too. So, you look at this is obviously a consistent campaign that they're rolling out. So when we do, like, as creatives, and I've worked in, advertising, the branding, all of that, especially when you're creating an advertising campaign, your personas are your characters, right? Which are the consumers. Then, right, your brand and everything that it stands for can be not only the plot, but the campaign itself is like the plot. So if this campaign is called Turn Up the Moment, well, we're going to sort of like take you down this narrative of advertising that speaks to this plot of turning up the moment. So you kind of see where I'm kind of getting at a little bit with that. Is that starting to make sense?
Yeah, it is clicking.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it's helpful. I just needed to like vocalize that and have like bounce it off of, someone who knows what they're talking about to get a clear idea of it.
So the end is, well, they don't want you buying the product to be the end. That's not really the end. The end, there is no end. They don't want it to be an end. Remember in our last project, whenever we were going through the user flow and the wireframes and stuff, and how I had recommended to a lot of you to not end the page, like, right? Give something at the end of the page that could reference something else, or like maybe through the contact. Remember we said contact, like if the user flow is to go to the contact page and you filled it out and then you hit submit, I told you, don't let that be the end.
Yeah, no dead ends, I remember.
No dead ends. So in brand storytelling, purchasing the product is not the end. They don't want you to have an end. They never want you to have an in. They want you to wear these, and then you're on the bus or you're on the tram or you're in the park, or you're in the gym, and you're freaking rocking out, right? You got your bows, and somebody looks over and like, damn, like, what the hell are they listening to? Oh, I saw their bows. Well, it must be something really good, right? So that brand narrative and that plot never ends. They don't ever want that to end, ever. So, yeah, very good question. Thanks for raising your hand about that one. Okay, anything else before we move on? Nope. All right. So now we're going to get into what is a logo. We already talked about what is a brand. Now, what is a logo? So a logo is a unique mark or symbol or visual that represents a company or an organization. It serves as the visual cornerstone of a brand's identity, encapsulating its values, personality, and story in a simple and memorable design. Very famous logos. So, types of logos are also very important for you to consider while you're getting into this next phase. And for some of you that have already taken this, again, you might, probably already know this. There are different types of logos. And I have to educate my clients on this too, all the time. So one thing that I'm going to suggest for this assignment of our logo design is to probably lean more into the word mark, because you already got a lot on your plate. And for this assignment, you have less than a week to do it. So, I mean, a crest and an emblem is also kind of simple for you to tackle. So a word mark, a crest and an emblem, I think, are a lot more doable within our timeline and also at your experience level. When you start getting into combo marks, letter marks, and symbols, then you're starting to add additional complexities, because you have to have a word mark, but then you also need the letter mark and the symbol. So now you got two different parts to the design element or the logo system. So another combo mark is like the Starbucks logo. It's actually a combination mark, right? We know it's got the mermaid in the middle, it's got the typography, and it's this circular wheel thing, right? That's a good combo mark. So the properties of a strong logo are simplicity. Well, I'll also add something to that, especially these days. Scalability. Scalability, scalability, scalability. So I'm going to go back to this. Design Within Reach is not a scalable logo at all. They have a very, very thin typeface. The frame around it is very thin, but what they can do, and if you look up, I'm going to look, I was just at their store in Palm Springs. I love Design Within Reach. Yeah. So when you look at like their logo on their webs or on their social media, they do the type in a black box, which is also kind of interesting why they would be inconsistent. Like, why wouldn't they have the red? Since the red is such a distinguishable part of their brand. They're doing it for a variety of reasons. It is, but one thing that they could do is own the color so much that maybe they just simplify it down to a square red box. Think about that. And they just own that shape and that color together. And then it becomes a very like simple emblem or mark that can always associate with the crest emblem, but now it's a little bit simpler. So simplicity, scalability. It absolutely has to be scalable. There's just too many touch points. Remember the brand in the middle and all the touch points on the outside? You have to consider all that stuff as, you develop a logo to be scalable. But then you ask yourself, if you're developing just a word mark, and you have a really, really tiny shape, could you do something, to pull out of that just to use as like a really, maybe you just use the word B or the A, since the A is such a significant thing about that letter mark, maybe the A stands on its own. So we already talked about Nike, right? The simplicity of Nike. Can anybody, or does anybody know the dual meaning of the Nike logo mark?
It's the motion of a bouncing ball and also a check mark on a to-do list.
It's pretty good.
I just made that up. I don't know.
Well, you're very close. I really like the check on the to-do list. That's really cool. I never thought about that. Melinda.
It's the sound of your clothes. They swoosh when you're running.
That's pretty good too. That's really good. Marie.
Does it have to do with just like the overall movement that happens during activities?
True. Yes, that's the feeling, right? It's this movement, like it feels like movement. Joshua.
Motion and speed.
Yes.
And if I may, I don't remember very well, but it has something to do with like mythology and like something
Yes.
to do with like the meaning of victory.
Almost.
I think a goddess of victory.
Yes. Yes. So in the Greek mythology, and I was trying to look it up real quick because I don't have it off the top of my head. It's like, I think it might be Achilles, like the foot, and it had like this kind of like these wings in a way. So it feels like there was a little bit of this dual meaning of that. Joseph.
No, it's actually goddess Nike, a goddess
Nike.
of victory from Greek. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
a
I knew
wing.
it was
It's a
one of
wing
those.
from the goddess that
Thank you.
symbolizes the movement.
Thank you. That's where the name comes from. Nike comes from. I knew it was one of those, and so I was trying to remember out of that. So say that one more time, Joseph.
Yeah, so it's actually from Greek mythology. The goddess is goddess of victory, Nike, and she has a wing that symbolizes the movement. So the swoosh is actually the Nike wing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I told you I was trying to look it up myself real quick and I couldn't find it. So yes, Nike is named after the goddess of victory and all those exact things that Joseph just shared. So there's a lot of dual meaning in the name and also the logo mark, which is very smart, like super smart. So again, properties of a strong logo, relevance, Amazon, Coca-Cola, IBM. Can anybody tell me the Amazon logo? What is the relevance of this? Dylan.
It has everything from A to Z.
You are really smart, my friend. You're right. What else? There's some more dual meaning.
Amazon River.
Okay. Anybody else?
Isn't the arrow like smiling kind of like?
Yes, Maya. So it symbolizes kind of the smile that you kind of get from great customer service that's affordable and on time and reliable. You get the package at your door and it kind of like, it makes you feel good. So yes, perfect. Dylan, you're 100% right. A to Z and also the smile. How about Coca-Cola? Anybody? Yeah? Anybody?
Wasn't
So Oh, go ahead, Tersa.
Oh, sorry. Wasn't it originally a handwritten script, the
Ah,
Coca-Cola logo?
yeah, it sure was. And not that this actually ties into the mark, supposedly they used to put a form of cocaine in their drinks. Crazy, right? Who was that just raised your hand? Was that you, Joshua?
Yes, that was me.
Yeah. What about you?
Um, I guess it was just to point out like it does have that old-timey feel, like some kind of elegance and like timeless classiness to it.
Yeah.
And I guess the swoosh forms are to like symbolize like the fizzy drink, like how it just kind of mellows you out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so they definitely have stuck with this logo. Unlike Pepsi, Pepsi has gone through I don't know how many rebrands. Coca-Cola has really stuck with its core values because they kind of want you to have a little bit of that nostalgia feel to Coca-Cola. So that's an important aspect to their brand values. Now, what about IBM? Can anybody tell me why the IBM logo mark looks the way it does?
Let
Uh,
Dylan go.
what was that?
Let Dylan go first. I've
Oh,
been speaking
Dylan,
too
go for
much.
it. Yeah.
I think I might be wrong though.
No, try it.
Do it.
Okay. Um, I think it was because of the old computers. Because I mean IBM made more than just computers, but it's just the way they used to work, I think, something like that. I don't really remember exactly what it was called.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Joshua, what are your thoughts?
Back then they were a huge industry giant, and I believe they still are today. But it was to represent the digitalism in the new digital age, because they also had a big part in NASA with their supercomputers and servers. They were really big at the time, so they wanted to um emphasize the digital power that they had, innovation.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I forgot to ask, can anybody tell me the Apple logo, what it means?
The Apple logo,
Whoops.
iconic bitten apple shape, has a few interpretations behind it.
Sorry. I was not talking to you, ChatGPT. She decided to answer that one. Sorry, guys. Um, so anyways, can anybody tell me what the Apple logo stands for? That was really funny. She was always listening. No? Why does well, first of all, the apple falling out of the tree, kind of on Newton, Marie?
Is the bite out of the apple to help differentiate it from like other fruits, as well as to like show like taking a bite of knowledge?
That's really good too. Ooh, you're really smart. Now, that's a very biblical symbolism if you want to go there, which people have talked about that, but most people don't like to talk about it. So there's some biblical symbolisms of, right, taking the bite of the apple in the Garden of Eden and acquiring knowledge. Mmm. But also, the bite out of the apple symbolizes the bite of a computer. You know, the bits of, right? So it's like the bit. So again, like I just love duality in smart logos. And that was really smart of you, Marie, that there's that duality that most people actually don't talk about, is that it has some biblical references along with computer references. Way to go. That was a good one. All
The
right.
apple's often associated with teaching as well.
It is. Right. Newton's apple, right? Something like Newton's law, something like that. It relates to that. But yeah, there's a lot of extra symbolism in the Apple logo out there. So properties of a strong logo also should be distinct and memorable, right? Some Bombardier, what? Sorry, let me see what the
Bombardier.
a Bombardier. Thank you for saying that right.
Yeah, of
Yes,
course.
bite. Yes, you're right, Dylan. The puns, 100% right. So let me go back to this real quick. What are the notes on this one? There's some notes on this that I need to. Before and oh yeah, here you go. So this was the before and after of a aircraft manufacturer. I wasn't familiar with this aircraft. So the old one is generic, therefore not that memorable. But the new one here on the right, I'll go back to this, has a lot more symbolism behind it. It's a lot more authentic and also ownable because it has sort of like this flow to it, like almost like wings of an airplane. And so you can kind of see, like, even in the change of an all caps versus a title caps, the all caps feels corporate, right? But now the title case feels a lot more conversational and approachable. And also the font, right? The font is more of like a customizable, like serif. So next, versatility. So Slack, we talked about versatility or scalability earlier. A logo, especially something that needs to be used in so many different places, you have to consider that scalability, right? And so my clients, I always talk about systems. So the before Slack up at the top, that was their before one. And there wasn't a lot of consistency in this. They had the type mark, and then they had this weird little grid, and then they applied it to this little box, and it was off center. But then they had this kind of completely different, right, favicon right over there to the right. And there was inconsistencies between them. But then when they redesigned it and they came up with this new system, it's very consistent across the system usage. All right, so I'm going to pause right there and see if anybody has any questions before we move on. Has anybody here designed a logo so far? Okay, Joshua, so you've done this process.
Yes.
What is the most challenging thing about logo design?
The most challenging thing, it really all depends. So if you're just making like a little icon or like a little picture thing or little mascot,
Yeah.
it's really all about the process and making various variations, making the right design, figuring out which one's the best one, choosing that, and then refining it, and then boom, you're pretty much good. It's just pretty much the repetition that you have to do, trial and error. But for typography, that's a little bit more of a challenge for me because you also have to like be very specific and precise with like the kinds of fonts that you choose to make and choose the right font for your project and like
Correct.
refine it to your
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some of you guys pop up in the thread too, but Sam, I saw you raise your hand. You're on mute, Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna say finding the right typeface too. I'm in branding and packaging right now, and we just did a logo with Bradford. I think I went through like 20 different types. I'm still like, I don't think you found it yet. So that was really hard.
Yeah, okay. Now, did both of you already have some of the brand values and attributes established, or were you just kind of designing the logo just from
No, we
We
already had
did
that.
for bigger ones. We did.
Yeah, okay, good. Ezekiel, you said that you've designed a logo before. Tell us about it.
Well, it was for like a fireplace company a friend of mine has.
Okay. What was the most challenging part of
I guess finding the right font for it.
it?
Logo was
Fonts, yeah.
the logo was pretty easy.
Oh,
I
okay. All right.
can show it if you guys want.
That's okay. We'll take a look at it later on. I want to get through everybody here that's raised their hand. Okay. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Dylan, you said that you have. You there?
Yeah, my thing wasn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Tell us
took
about
it.
it. What was the
I
most challenging part of it?
For the icons, it was making it simple enough to where it still portrayed what I wanted it to like look like, but it wasn't too like complicated and intricate to where you couldn't tell what it was when it was small. But for like if it was just I don't know, if it was a word mark, and they had like a long name, I was like, okay, now I have to figure out where this is gonna be most often so that I can either smush it enough or like rearrange it enough so it fits in those instances. After that, like finding the font was easy in comparison to like all that. But yeah, so it's different challenges for different tasks.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Marie, you said that you have designed one, but not a good one. Tell us, Marie. Tell us about that.
I had to do one for the branding and packaging class, and I think the hardest part of it was we had to create the company like from scratch. And so just trying to come up with the design and overall feel in general was more difficult than if you already have something to work off of.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like this project, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. Who raised their hand just a while ago? Carl, you? Okay. Carl, you said that you've designed a logo?
Yeah, in a couple different classes, like they had us do a logo. And for me, I find a lot of trouble in choosing what type of logo. So you put up the slide that showed word mark, emblem, or crest. It's like, which one of those do I start with, or which one of those is this going to be? It's like, it's always tricky for me,
Yeah.
picking
Yeah.
one.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Um, everybody's have ever since I was at City College as a student myself, um, Candace was very, very good at teaching process. And so, and that has continued, right? That's definitely continued to today and in the teaching at City. So, she was always really good at kind of teaching a process, like a foundation to, build off of. And some people, take that process and they mold it to their own liking. Some people like to sit down and sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch. I knew this one guy, I'll never forget him. He was like kind of the first senior designer I worked for at Visual Asylum. His name's Joel Sodello, and he loved to sketch logos. He literally would have hundreds of logos in his book that he would sketch out for an idea. It was always really impressive to me. So that was one thing that he liked to do. He really liked the process of the thinking and putting it on paper and sort of working that out, and then moving it into the now kind of the digital space, right? Now kind of like, developing maybe one of the sketches and seeing where it goes like that. And he was more of a, the if you look at, we look at like right here, you look at the differences, right, of the Slack logo. And you look at the combination part, right? You look at the logo mark over here, like, the symbol, and then the type part. He always sort of started with the logo mark. That was his thing. He that's where he liked to start from. And then he worked his way out. That was his process. Me, I have a tendency to start with typography. I'm a type guy. Like I love typography. I always start with like the type and then I start moving from there. That's like my process. And it's like with this one, this is just a couple of sketches. Like I started off with some ideas of like the JCMR one that I'll share. And I was just kind of sketching out like, different letter forms and not even looking at a font. It was more just like what was in my head and what felt right. So everybody has their process, and it's also good to try to change your process up because it helps kind of keep things fresh, especially if you might get stuck. You'll hear designers say this all the time. Oh my God, man, I'm so stuck on this idea. Like I just can't get something I like. Well, maybe you want to change your process up. It can help sort of kickstart a new idea. So and I'm gonna walk through my process a little bit here. So this again, I'm gonna speak to this JCMR client because I also got we had a meeting with them yesterday and they shared that they are so incredibly happy with how their brand is developing. And like that warms my heart up a lot. Like there's nothing better than when a client really takes the time to appreciate the hard work and the value of your talent and your experience that you brought. And they really like go, hey, the work, the work that you are doing is so much better than anything we've ever gotten in the past, and we just really appreciate it. That's what really gets your soul as a designer, man. Like that just like boom, it gets you right here. So I'm gonna walk you through a little bit of my process. So a lot of times, like I said, this is just I even got one right there. Throughout my day, I'll just sometimes like start sketching throughout my day, and I keep notebooks. I do notebooks. I just got all kinds of stuff. I've showed it to you before. Um, I write down things. I write down, my daily plan. I sketch out my ideas. For me, like, there's something about the process of the way I think about putting something on paper that helps it stick and start becoming real. That's how I am. So my next step here is I start just experimenting with fonts. That's where I start from. And here's a good example too. Also, here's another brand. This current brand that I'm developing is called Covert. And here's another example. I just kind of went through a process of choosing sans serif fonts that I thought were classic. Also, you can see where I started with sans serif fonts that were just a regular kind of shape, but then I also gravitated to condensed sans serifs. Then I moved into these other like more graphic fonts. And I went to DaFont, guys. Like just about all these fonts over here, I ended up finding on DaFont. I had mentioned that to you guys the other day. Like DaFont is a great website for me to be able to find unique, kind of obscure under the radar fonts that you can use for really good typeface, like type marks. So this is where I start. I start right here in Illustrator. I just start going through and just like boom, 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 just putting down typefaces, right? All kinds of different typefaces. That's where I start. And then I go, okay, well, I like that one. I kind of like, this one, the condensed nature, like this, and I like, how this one is. So then what I do is I take those typefaces and I move them to a different page. And then I just start experimenting. Here I was kind of experimenting with, the shape around it. Then I started going into the thicker typeface because this is Extenda. It's a variable font. So, I went from the really, really condensed nano to the really wide yada. I think it's yada. And I experimented with that. And I was like, okay, kind of. And then I even rounded it out just because I was like, I don't know, there's something to that. Nah, wasn't working. Ditch that. So this font right here, which is Tector, I liked a lot. And I liked it because it checked the boxes of the brand attributes that I had already established. So the brand attributes here, let me jump. So this is what was already approved, the brand language. So the manifesto, let me just slide this open here a little bit. Okay. So all of this stuff was already approved, right? Had all of this, pitch, guiding principles, and the brand attributes. So when I'm thinking about typefaces, I'm thinking about these brand attributes: accountable, authentic, pragmatic, reasonable, savvy. But also I know they're a tech company too. So when I'm looking at these fonts, I'm like, I really like this font a lot. There's something about like the symmetry and also the angles and the actual like form of the font that I think is kind of cool. Like, I started there. So I'm like, okay, now how can I take this font and now modify and make it unique and ownable? So what I do is I start looking at the consistency of the letter forms. The J and the W are really a consistent shape. So if you look at the basis of it, there's the basis right there. That's the shape that they're all, most of these letter forms are based off of. That's the shape. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to kind of like think about the essence of the shape and the consistency and the flow that's kind of going through it. And now how can I take a few of these and start customizing it? So I started looking at how can I like modify the J, modify the C a bit. I also modified the M and then the R. So I was like, okay, like how can I visually connect that to this? And this is what I ended up doing. I also adjusted all the like letter spacing in between things. And so this is where I ended up with. But the client came back to me and they said that this is the one they, just to jump ahead, this is the one they chose. I also presented this one too. I really like this typeface. I like the flow and again, kind of the symmetry of it. But then what I did was I modified it and I created these connections between the letter forms that to me went back to some of the brand attributes. So like these are all sort of flowing together. The C comes in, connects with the M, and the R kind of connects with the M as well. So there's this sort of relationship and this kind of like this joining of like this conceptual level of working together. That's like how I sell it. And then I did this one here too. I took this typeface, this Techo, and this was really funny. I'll have to share what the client said because it really was funny. So I wanted this like condensed one, and then my metaphor of the M was kind of this protection, this security. So the middle part of the I or the M and the outside of it kind of symbolizes protection. Like this form is in the middle and the outside is sort of protecting it. And it could, stand alone as like a logo mark. That was my idea. So here's my first, no, here it is. So this is my presentation. This is what I presented to JCMR. The first logo, round. I outline our goals. Then we're going to go through logo examples. Then we're going to look at some typography. Then we're going to look at colors, and we're going to look at imaging. So I establish what our project goals are. Blah, blah, blah. What are our themes? And then keep it fresh in the head. What is our pitch? What does JCMR stand for? Boom. And then now we're going to get into logo direction. So it's very, very important for a lot of clients. Most clients are not visual. They're just not visual. These guys are tech dudes. They're like programmers. They are the most non-designy visual people out there. So you have to think about your audience and go, okay, like, how can I help sell my ideas? Well, I walk them through a process. So this is my process. Boom, I start right off with the simplicity, just the mark itself. And I have a little bit of an explanation at the bottom. Logo direction 1. JCMR Technology empowers their clients with expert-driven, security-focused, and cost-effective technology services. This mark visualizes these attributes through a tech-forward design. And then I kind of explain it a little bit. I also show it in a smaller version here. Shows scalability. Then I start showing how it pairs up with its other word, technology. And again, systems, how it can pair up in a different way. So they're starting to see the system and how it works. Then I show them how it can work in a reverse nature, right? So it needs to be able to work on a light background and a dark background. So they're starting, I'm walking them through this direction. Then I finally show them an application. And this is very important to help clients visualize what they do. Now, I'm not sure if this QR code still works, but if you want to, try to scan that. It does. It's pulling up. But it's the updated one. So if you notice, what I do is I create a little mobile site that they can scan, and now they can see their logo direction in it, and they can scroll through it and get a sense of it, and then also see it in, application down at the bottom. It's a very, very powerful way of selling your ideas and making them feel real to your client. So then I show them another direction. So direction 2 was this other one, this condensed font with this little shape in the middle of the M. I talk about like the M can be utilized as a standalone icon that prioritizes security and trust. And then my client paused right there. And this is really funny. You got to roll with the punches sometimes. So the CEO, the founder, leans in and he goes, "That looks like somebody bending over." I was like, no. But now I see it. Now I can't unsee it. And I'm like, well, we're probably not going to go with this logo, Mark, if you see somebody bending over. It was absolutely hilarious. So you just roll with it. You don't sit there and you get embarrassed. You don't start freaking out. You just roll with it. You're like, dude, like, that's hilarious. Thank you for bringing that out. I appreciate what you saw. Maybe we just want to skip the next few slides. And you just laugh about it. Like, who cares, man? Like, who cares? So you're like, okay, yeah, let's just skip this one. Let's just jump to the next one. All right, logo direction 3. And then I laugh about it. I go, logo direction. And then I walk them through logo direction 3. Blah, 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 blah. Boom, boom, boom. I even show them this Mark II, which they really liked. So this concept was, I created this little icon, and the original computer code in its most fundamental form is machine code, which is binary code, which consists of zeros and ones. What I did was, from the typography and the font, I broke out a 0 and a 1, and I combined them into this simple shape. So in a very sort of like conceptual way, I was kind of hinting back at technology and computers. And I created a simple mark based off of zeros and ones. And then I showed them again the systems, blah, 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 execution, same thing. They could scan this one, see it in the mobile page, good to go. And then I always show a comparison page. I'm going to tell you, remember this for the rest of your days. Clients always want to see comparisons. Okay? Always include this. Do a comparison page so they can see them together. And then a lot of times what happens is the client will go, you'll look at it, you'll see them kind of looking at each other a little bit. They'll sort of like whisper, right? And then they'll go, well, Paul, which one do you like best? I've had that happen so many times. They're like, well, which one do you like best? And so then I'll joke and I go, well, I definitely don't want to look at a logo that symbolizes somebody bending over. So we're not going to go with that one. I'm going to lean into either one or three. And then I talk about the attributes that I like. I go, well, I really like number one for this and this. And then I go, I really like number three for this. But, there's different things. So I try to avoid picking something. I really kind of lean into like letting them sort of own the decision. It's a mentality thing. I don't want to make this decision for them. Now, in the case of Covert, I did lean them into thinking about one of the directions that I felt had more longevity to it, that just had sort of like, I go, think about your company in 5 years and make your decision based off of that. So then the rest of this presentation, I showed different type forms, combining them together, which ones. I showed color palettes, then image direction, people, offices, abstract information, abstract energy. And that was my presentation. They loved it. So what they ended up buying off on was this one, the first one. But what they ended up doing, which I really liked, I didn't mind this at all. They combined 1 and 2 together, and it made sense. They go, we really like the way that the C and the M and the R connect. We like what that stands for. But when we look at the J in number 1, it looks like a U. They're like, it looks a little bit too much like a U. I go, that's fair. Yeah. That's really good feedback. Great feedback. You can't argue with that. That's great. So what did I do? Brought this over in the J. I connected the C with the M. I also modified the M a little bit more. I adjusted my spacing and we ended up with this mark. Boom. Done. They loved it. And then the rest of the brand guide, it's the systematic lockups of JCMR and technology, scalability. I also came up with this thing, which they ended up not liking, and they've shelved I call it the emblem or that logo mark. So we've kind of shelved that and we might go back to this, but they didn't really like this. So again, applying the color palette, applying the application, then the typefaces that they chose, color system that they chose, image direction, all approved. Boom, done. They loved it. So I thought it was important to kind of run you through like my process of from sketch to final. That was sketch to final process right there. All right. There's a couple of comments in here. Oh, I thought it looked like pants. I know, Donna. They did too. So I didn't see that when I first looked at it. But, that's happened before. I would say one of the funniest stories ever of logo design for me was this company called CoreLogic, and they're a tech company. We presented, just like I did here, presented multiple logo directions. They chose one of them. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm crazy like that. Like I was dreaming about it. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I went, wait a minute. You can't use that logo. It has, unfortunately, some double meaning that could be offensive in it. That's all I'll say. So I had to, first thing in the morning, I had to go to my account director and I had to go, hey guys, man, this sucks. But the logo that they chose, we can't use. And then I explained what I saw, and then they saw it, and they're like, oh no, we can't use that logo. And then we had to hop on the call and we had to call up the client and we had to explain it. I had to. That's my job. And luckily they were a good sport, just like JCMR was. They laughed about it. They literally laughed about it. They're like, oh no, yeah, we can't do that. Like that's like, oh, that's not good. And so they ended up just choosing one of the other directions. We modified it and they went with it and it was all good. But you know, shit happens. Sometimes that stuff happens. So, all right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Christine. I'm glad that that was helpful. Does anybody have any questions about that process? Anybody want me to kind of go back, you know, and would you guys like for me to share these documents with you? Yeah? Okay. So yeah, I'll be glad, you know, again, this is their final brand guide right here that I did. And then what I'll do is I'll also share. Oh, let me show you this one too. So Cover. This is what I presented, right? This is my process. Up, up, up. I chose this typeface right here. Hold on. This was called Square One. It's just a weird little typeface off of the font. And here's another one called Play Pretend. And I thought that they paired up really well. So then I took Square One and I modified it and I changed the O. Instead of the O being square, I did a circle O. And that meant something. The reason why I did this is because they are a video production company that shoots for the Apple Vision Pro. I had mentioned to you guys before that shoots for these immersive video experiences. So I decided to change the O to a circle to symbolize immersive experiences, like full circle. And then I connected the V with the E and I did the E as uppercase instead of this weird lowercase because it just looks ugly and the uppercase flows better. So so that was one of them. And then I broke out, and then I decided to customize the K. So the K, right? You see it here. But then I'm like, you know what? There's something unique about the V, right? So all I did was add a kickstand to the V to make it into a K. Real simple. And now the K and the V complement each other. And the O, again, represents immersiveness. And then I modified it a bit more. And then I cut off the T to make it connect more with the R. That was one mark. And then I did, then I did this guy here based off of this one, this weird font. Dark tech, real wild. So I modified this one too. And I changed the I changed the E to an uppercase, blah, blah, blah. But here's what I ended up presenting for these guys. Covert. Filmmaking is about finding the truth in a story, kind of a quote to get them in the headspace. They had already approved their manifesto, mission, guiding principles, brand. Well, no, they didn't. I was pitching everything on this one because they needed all of this done in a week. So I had to present the manifesto, mission statement, guiding principles, brand attributes, pitch, and logo concepts. So manifesto, mission statement, guiding principles, brand attributes, blah, blah, blah. Broke out the brand attributes. Dun, dun, dun. Differentiator. So this is one thing I did a little bit different. I took the brand attributes and I wrote why they're differentiators in their space. So I created definitions based off all of that. And then here's their pitch. And then I went into logo concepts. So this is what I show them. I go, guys, like, this is my process. I go through all this typography. I do all this studying, blah, just to kind of get to where you're at. And so logo direction 1 was this one here. So same process that I showed you for JCMR. I just show black and white. That's it. The black mark on white, I scale it down. I show them how it's scalable. Then on this one, I also showed that I feel like that this one also can be like separated, and it represents like space and time. And they really like that idea. So this particular mark can work together or spread out. And then I showed them what I call stealth mode and how it could be applied to, kind of this like very dark monochromatic color palette. And then the K, hold out, which is their emblem. And then I applied it here. And then I did this for them. So I did 2 things. One, you can scan this over on the left, and it brings up one of those Figma web pages so they can see it. And then also the one on the right is a digital business card. So you could scan this on their phone, and it brings up a contact card with all their information on it, because that was one of the things they had asked, is a digital business card. So I showed this direction in application. Now logo direction 1 was this one. Same process, stealth mode, this emblem, and then stealth mode. Oh, and then comparison in stealth mode. So this is the one that they, of course, asked me, which one do I like best? Same thing. And I left them with that statement, like I mentioned. Think about your company in 5 years. Think about I feel strong about both logos, but think about your company in 5 years. And think about the longevity and the scalability of your company in 5 years. And so what they ended up deciding is, I haven't done a brand guide, but they decided number 1 right here on the left. And then what I ended up having to produce for them is a simple splash page with the new mark in it. And this was all done on Squarespace in like a day. So they love it. They went to their conference. They presented their brand. They also presented like their cool little, here, I'll show you here real quick. It's kind of neat. Come on. Jeez. The hell. Oh man. I don't know what the hell's going on with this guy. Give it a second here. So this was cool. I created these digital business cards for them that what they can do is they can right, so your lock screen, they can it's like they can bring it up on their lock screen. Geez, everything's dying on me right now. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to stop sharing here. This is ridiculous.
Could check your task manager to see what's taking up so much RAM or space or
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, look at it, man. It is dying right now. Hold on just a second. Just I think it's Figma.
Might be.
Oh, come on. All right, we're back at it here. Let me close some of these guys out. Yeah, Figma is struggling right now, guys. Okay, let's try this one more time. Desktop. Okay, so now you can see here, and then we're going to move on. I ended up doing these digital business cards. The first one here is they could scan this and it just pulls up their website. And then the one down at the bottom would be like their contact. So if they were to scan this one, it would pull up their contact information in their card. So that was, and everything worked out great. The logo mark was very scalable across all of these, and they are happy clients. So. All right, we're gonna pause right there and we're gonna take a break. We're at 3 o'clock here. And it's 2:58. Let's come back at let's come back at 3:10. Okay? All right. See you in a little bit. Hmm. All right. Let me get things back in order here. Since Figma and everything wanted to cause us problems. Let's see here. All right. Let's share. All right, it's a bug. Okay. Get out of here. Sorry, it's a bug bothering me. Okay, so we're gonna hop into the assignment. So our last assignment was to do the creative brief and mood boards and competitor analysis. So those things are really key, like we've always talked about, to have that to help you kind of start moving into the other stages. So you understand who your target audience is and all those things that, I was absolutely thrilled with the variety. Darn it, come on. The variety of projects that the class shared. I think there are so many good ideas out there, and I'm excited to move into this next assignment. So our next assignment is logo design. So that's why I kind of ended up moving some assignments around, like I mentioned at the beginning, because of our lecture for today around talking about brands and then also talking about logo design. Your logo design is due on April 14th. That is next Monday. I know that's not a lot of time, but that's why I think it's key to keep it simple. Focus on, like we mentioned, doing a type mark. And, if you have a basic shape to apply it to, okay, that's fine. But doing something like you're seeing over here that I did for Polaris Adventures for one of their campaigns, Keep On Adventuring, I would say would be too complicated and too challenging because you got a lot of different things going on here. There's a variety of things. But if you look at, what I had shared with JCMR and also Covert, those two are great examples because they are typographic marks that then you can maybe pull some of the letter, some of the pieces of the letters out and maybe use them as emblems and icons. So this particular assignment is 4 points. You want to design a logo that embodies your brand story and appeals to your target audience. Ensure that the logo is distinctive and versatile, maintaining its integrity in different sizes. So the scalability part of it. So all of those things that we had just previously discussed, and then also the examples that I just shared of my process and my recent clients, those are all things that you need to take into consideration moving forward. I'm trying to remember, who was it? Was it Donna? Was it you with the 90s
Yes.
rave? Right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, Donna. Yeah. And you had already started kind of thinking about a logo mark already, right?
Yes, but mostly just like using type and not really modifying yet.
Yep. Not modifying yet, but I know that you had shared a couple of them that we were all kind of intrigued by.
Oh, yay! I'm glad.
So my recommendation is if there are some of those that you're going to move forward with, then you do the same thing that I did with JCMR and also Covert. You have your foundation of a font, which is great. And then you take it to the next level by, customizing it, maneuvering things around, adjusting spacing, like all those things that I sort of talked you through, those are absolutely essential to making your typographic mark ownable and distinct.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pause. Let's see here. Any thoughts, any questions about this for this next assignment? Anything that you feel like I didn't cover? Melinda, yes.
How are you going to be grading this for us to be able to get the full 4 points? Like, will you give feedback for us to redo it, to resubmit it, or how does that process look?
Yeah, so as far as how to submit it, I mean, grading has a lot of different things. It's only 4 points, so I consider, did you turn it in on time? Did it check the boxes of the things that that we had gone over? Is it versatile? Is it distinct? Is it maintaining the integrity of scalability? Is it embodying the brand and the target audience? All of those are a part of the other points. And then finally, how are you presenting it? Like, are you just giving me a sheet of paper with your logo on it and going, here, professor, this is all I did? Or are you actually presenting it in a way that feels professional? So that's how it is with everything. So that's how I grade everything. Yeah.
Like, do you want to see only the final? Do you want comparisons? Like, I I just feel like I could go all over the place, and I don't know if I'm going to match up with you with the presentation. Like,
Oh, I
maybe
don't expect you, Melinda, to match up with me.
yeah, we're not matching up at all, Paul, are we?
Because I've been doing this since
Melinda.
1997. So no, I don't expect that at all. I would never expect that. What I expect then is you need to be able to present, your logo kind of in its simple way of how I presented it. Show it where it's your logo on a white background. Show it downsizing it, like how does it scale down? Also show that, it reversing out as well. It's like, if it's just, and just keep it black and white for now. Don't apply color. I don't want to see color in this thing. So just keep it black and white. Show it where it's reversed out in black too. And then if you want to, and I'll get to Marie and also Carolyn, if you also want to apply it to, like a photograph or something that is a part of your brand, and that type of basic application. So keep it simple, but show those steps of your mark. If you also want to kind of walk us through a little bit of the original typeface, you can. But at least present it in a way that shows readability, scalability, also it being able to be reversed out. And then, yeah, you maybe show it in an application on a photograph or something. That make sense for you, Melinda?
Not really. I just feel like you kind of listed off a lot of stuff, and I don't really get categorically like, okay, turn it on in time. That I can do. Presentation. You have a couple different application things. Like, do you want 2 applications, 3 applications?
Sure.
I don't know. And then the other 2 categories for points, I think it's just the general feeling, the way it matches up. Like, you said so much. I'm having troubles understanding,
Sure.
like, just pinpoint, like, what are you wanting?
Okay. So then let me take a moment on that one and answer the other people, see what questions they have, and then I'm going to circle back. Okay. So who else had their hand up?
I did.
Carolyn, or Marie, you had your hand up first, and then Carolyn, you go. Go for it.
When you say the sizing of it, can you just specify like what would be like an ideal size for the logo to start off with, and then which sizes you would like us to like scale it down or scale it up to?
All right, so we're gonna do a working session on this then, because we got plenty of time to do it. Here. All right. So let's see here. We're gonna go here. We're going to create a new slide. And I am going to might just use, I'm just gonna might just go over here. So yeah, I'll use Slack here. So what we're gonna do is, no, because that's color. Hold on, just give me 1 second here. Let's do this one. How do you say this name again, Joshua?
Bombardier.
Bombardier. You say it very nicely.
Thank you.
Hey, hold on 1 second. I got a mailman coming up here. Do I need to sign for that? No. All right, man. Thanks. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of this logo mark. And we're going to pretend like this is your type mark. Okay. So some of the things to consider in the way I kind of do like sizing, I do it by percentages. So if you remember the presentation that I showed, the first slide of the mark is, again, black and white. It's the typographic mark on just the white background, and then copy and paste it down here. And 1 second here. And then I reduce it by 50%. I literally scale it down, go down a little bit smaller. Okay. You know, maybe even, let's go down to a little bit smaller. So that's about 60% right there. So if you see here, this should be like your very first slide of your presentation. All right, give it a second. Right there. Typographic mark. You're showing it at a good size, and you're also showing it scaled down. So that should be your first slide. Your next slide. Let's see if I can actually do this though, because, oh, come on. Duplicate this. I might not be able to reverse this out, so give me a second here. No, I'm not. All right, so let's try this here. Yeah, see, that's why I need to go back to, give me a second. I'm gonna have to go back to my covert. Let's grab my covert logo because I can actually work with that and show you a better representation. All right, so here we are. Let's grab this guy. Okay, this is a lot easier for me to adjust. All right, so this is my mark. We're going to change the color to black. And this is going to be your first slide. Right in the center. It's a little big. Let's reduce that down. All right. So, and then I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to make it only 40 pixels tall. And so this is going to be your first slide. Right there. So your typographic mark, black on white. You're showing it scaled down, as a matter of fact. Maybe you even want to go a little bit smaller to really kind of get the essence of, digital and all that good stuff. Whoops. So there you go. So that should be your first slide of your presentation. Your next slide. Now, what I want you to do is the background is going to be black. And now your logo is going to be white. Get rid of that thing. So now, first slide, black on white, white on black. And the purpose of that is so you can, because this is, most of the time your logo mark is going to be applied to a color or an image. And so it's very important to see what it looks like when it's reversed out, because if you jump, if you go between the two, there's a drastic sort of visual difference between a mark that's with a white background versus a mark that's got a colored background or a photo background. So I want you to have, so this is your second slide. Yeah, Marie.
Okay, sorry. I've had scrambled eggs for brains since I'm in my third trimester, so it's been kind of rough. I use ChatGPT to help me formulate my question. I'm like a numbers person, so what is a good sizing scale to follow when designing the logo? For example, like if the logo is 5 inches by 5 inches or 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, like the typical sizing of it.
Sure.
From there, what sizes would you want it to be scaled up to or down to for like, say, like if it's on like the
So at
website?
least 50%. So you may want to go a little bit smaller when you scale it down. So you're going to have to kind of eyeball it yourself. I'm not going to grade you on how small it is. I think that's like something that you just have to like eyeball, but it needs to at least be like 50% smaller.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah, of course. No, that's fine. And so then what you're going to want to do is another slide here. What we're going to do, we're going to add a photo. Let's go to covert here, website support, and we're going to grab this photo. We're going to drop it in. Let's get it to fit. Come on. Sit in the back. Get that. Zoom. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. So, and I'm going to apply, I'm going to do two photos here, just so, just so you can see like, crop, we'll move this guy over, and then we're going to show this over here. And I'm going to duplicate. And send that back. And then I'm going to change the photo here to a different one, just because I want to show a variety. And let's see, we'll pick one of these dark ones here, because this is what he gave me. All right. So this is the bare minimum of your presentation. First slide, your typographic mark or your logo mark, black on white. Second slide, white on black. And then third slide, show it with some of, some imagery that you've already picked out maybe from your mood board or something like that, and you're showing it applied over top of, multiple images. Does that help? Yeah, okay. Somebody else had their hand raised, I believe, earlier. Was it you, Sam?
No, but Dana asked it in the chat,
in the
and I was
chat?
wondering too, can show you like do the same format but with like multiple logos to like have you look at, or do you want us to just pick one logo?
I'm gonna leave that up to you. If
Okay.
you want to show like a couple of logos, but I want to see them in this format. And so this is going to be in the deck. Okay, this is in the deck, so you can reference this. It's right after the assignment here, so you can look at both of these slides here, and this is the bare minimum. Okay, bare minimum right here of what you need to present next week.
Okay. Cool.
Sure, Carolyn. Yes.
Hi, I understand the assignment. I'm just wondering why, I guess I'm not trying to question your teaching, but oftentimes in our classes, we'll get an assignment and then we'll do like a critique, like we've done in the past with you. So we get feedback and then we can go back and refine, which seems to be sort of the point of being in school, because I can design something all day long and think it's great and then go to a critique and have people like point out things that I didn't see or give suggestions to improve. And I feel like we're missing that step here. So
On this one? Yeah, and the reason why is because this isn't the point of this class, is logo design. And it's something that Bradford wanted me to include in it. And I'll still give you feedback and everything, but it's not the primary point of this class. This primary point of this class is interaction design, not actually like brand design and logo design. So I just don't want to spend a lot of time on this particular step because it's not the primary goal of this class.
So as long as we present it the way you want, we turn it in on time, we're basically getting our 4 points.
Yeah, just it's not the primary point of this class is to spend a bunch of time. That's why I literally did it less than a week, because I don't want you guys to spend a bunch of time on this. That's not the point of this class. The point of this class is to teach you interaction design, but it was something that Bradford hadn't included in the class. So I'm just kind of checking a box right now for this class.
Okay, that tells me how many hours to put into it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, put as many as you want to into it. That's really up to you. But that's,
or as little.
Yeah, don't. What I'm going to recommend is that's up to you to decide how much effort you want to put into it, but always think of your portfolio. So don't just think of this class, think of your portfolio. And I'm not sure, I notice a lot of you really bring up grades a lot. I guess I'm just not kind of used to that, because I'm sure that for many reasons, some of you need a certain grade for whatever reason, who knows, right? You all have your personal reasons, but in the real world, nobody gives a shit about your grade. That's being real. Nobody cares.
I'd rather have feedback and a critique than a grade.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is what we're doing is we're getting the grade, we're not getting the feedback. So that's what I was pointing out.
Yeah, you'll get feedback, Carolyn, for sure. But I'm just not going to spend a lot of time on feedback because it's not the goal of this class. It's just not the priority. So all I'm saying is that for this one, we're going to check the boxes of this exercise. And I'm glad, you guys brought this up. I thought that was very helpful because you're like, hey, I'm not quite sure how you want me to present this. So, this was a good moment to kind of show just the basics of how to present this particular assignment. And this is the bare minimum. 1, 2, 3. So at least do this. Spend as much time as you think is right for the project. and, you know, submit it for next week and be ready to share it. And yes, you will get feedback for sure. Absolutely. But I'm gonna, just kind of go back to the thing. And again, like I'm not trying to sound, harsh. I'm really not. I'm just being real. I think people only learn from people being real. And I'm just a real teacher. And I just want you to know that, yes, I understand that grades are important for a variety of reasons. But when it really comes down to the end of the day, the portfolio and who you are means that's what's going to get you a job, not a grade. So just sharing that. That's all. Cool. Would anybody else? Yeah, Melinda, would anybody else like for me to sort of extend on this a bit more?
Just the assignment, like what's the title of it? Just because I just want to make sure that I know what you're talking about.
It's right here. It's called logo design, Melinda.
Okay, I just don't see it on the thing yet, so.
Oh, I showed it a while ago. So this is
Canvas?
yeah, remember this was the slide I went over? I said, so I said logo design is 4 points. And then I read through the expectations of design a logo that embodies your brand story. So yeah, I did. I went over this.
Yeah, I
And
know you did. I just needed a refresh on the name because I was checking Canvas to see if it was there because I'm just trying to keep things in line
yeah,
because
it
my
will be
grades do
there.
matter to me.
Yeah, it will be there. I'll be posting this lecture and I'll be posting the assignment today. And I'll also, when I get a chance, I'll also be following up with the video. But this has everything. So I know you guys like to refer to the videos, and that's why, those are super helpful. But, that's not a mandatory thing for me. It's not a priority. Getting this up is the main priority. So I'll be getting this stuff up after the class for sure. But thank you for bringing this up. I think that was a really important thing to establish of how to actually submit this particular assignment for next week. And I hope, making sure I'm looking at the chat here. Let's see here. Carl said it makes sense. This is a pretty simple format. Three slides showing your mark. Let's see here. Oops. One on white, one on black, and then showing it on some image applications. So the format's pretty simple. All right. Any other questions? We're going to end the class early to give you some time. Hopefully you might even want to jump on this assignment and get started. But any questions before we end early today? Nope. Sure, I don't see anything up here. Okay. All right. So then we're going to go ahead. We're going to, let's see here real quick. Our next week, we're going to have a lecture on e-commerce landing pages. And then we're going to have a pretty hefty assignment starting Wednesday. That's why I want to get this one out of the way and on the shelf. So you're going to be diving into information architecture, which includes what you did in the last assignment, includes developing a sitemap and also doing your wireframes. So next assignment is going to be pretty hefty. And that's it. That's it for today.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. One other thing. Carl, you all right? Said all crap. What's going on?
Just this, I saw sitemap and I was like, ah, crap, because it was hard last time. I'm fine. I'll be okay.
Yeah, but I didn't see anybody that really had an overly complicated sitemap. And we'll go through the expectations of what I'm expecting. I'm not necessarily like, I don't think you need, if it's a really, really big e-commerce site, then you need to think about how to pare it down. But it really shouldn't. This is a hypothetical, right? You're all doing hypothetical projects. So don't overcomplicate it. Try to keep it simple. Most e-commerce sites have a homepage, category, right? Category, like different category pages. And then like product pages that fall under those. So that's sort of like the sitemap. And we'll go through a little bit more of that. And then maybe like a contact and about, and then a shopping cart. I mean, really, that's probably the basics of what anybody should be site mapping out. But we'll get a little more into that next week. Cool. All right. Well, unless anybody else has any other questions, then we're going to end a little bit early and give you some time back. So I appreciate it. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate the feedback and the discussions. It's always helpful for everybody. And I wish you the best. If you have any additional questions, then send me messages, the emails, and I will respond as prompt as possible. So, all right, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye bye.
See you next week.